What's up, guys? I have my John Deere Z355E, and I'm going to do a comparison video between a true residential mower to a light commercial mower. This is a Kubota Z121S, and I just want to really break down some of the differences in what you get for a $3,000 price point compared to a $5,000 price point. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the frame quality. Now, this mower weighs 550 pounds compared to 780 pounds. I mean, and there's a reason. This frame, I mean, you can just look at the difference, but when you really put a tape measure on it, it puts things in perspective. It's 1.5 by 1. We come over here to the Kubota, and we're talking a 3 by 1.5 inch frame. Serious frame. The John Deere is built very thin, and it's disappointing because I had a Z225 and it was built really well. I mean, a step down from that Kubota as far as the frame. These casters are just sitting on rubber bushings, is where the Kubota is a bearing style caster, which John Deere used to have. They've really cheapened out this model. It is a shame. You have a sheet metal shroud. It is thin, really thin. You don't get fenders anymore. These plastic side covers are nice. They have a little bit of storage or gas tanks under the seat, which is pretty common now. I do like that, I will say that. Same for the Kubota. Plastic side covers. I wouldn't say the quality is much different than John Deere there, it's a little bit bigger. Around back you do get a full frame though. Even the sheet metal around the muffler is thicker gauge. And just all in all, everything is a heavier gauge metal. And it really, you feel that when you're driving the machine. Now, both of these models have seats that pivot forward, which is nice. But the John Deere is, in my opinion, very dumbed down for the general public. It's still easy to access the battery, so I can't knock them for that. I just don't like how this has become this big plastic blob. Over here on the Kubota, everything's open. You can see the gas tank. You have a 4.2 gallon tank on the Kubota as opposed to a 2.1 gallon tank on the John Deere. The Kubota also has a hydraulic cylinder to soften your deck movement going up and down. I don't know how important that actually is, it just feels nice. The Kubota also has a suspension seat. This was the $5,500 option, which gave you some little dinky LED headlights, but more importantly, this free floating suspension seat, which is very nice. Has a seat belt and a roll bar, which you will not find on the John Deere. Now for the roll bar, I know most guys take it off or fold it down. This one does not fold down. It does kind of become a problem if you have very low hanging trees. But it is a nice option. I'm going to probably keep it on and mount some LED lights up there for some nighttime cutting on my property. The John Deere has a very traditional seat, but it does have the armrests. And that is nice. Your suspension is limited, but there. Now this is where things really start to change. The transmissions on this John Deere are Hydro Gear EZTs. They run 7 miles per hour forward and 3.5 in reverse, and they are non-serviceable. That is a sealed transmission. Now let's talk about a sealed transmission because people get real weird about that, and I'm just going to be honest. I used my Z225. It had 1,200 hours on it. It went through 3 18 horsepower Briggs single cylinder motors because the compression release is junk on those engines. Not this engine, but the transmissions held up. They lasted forever. They were sealed. I'm sure they were about to fail. I sold the mower for practically nothing when I was done with it. I don't know how long it lasted after that, but when you step to your light commercial mowers, and this even goes for your light commercial Toros or Exmarks, you go to Hydro One 3100s or 3200s. This one has the Hydro Gear 3100, and right there is the oil filter on each drive. It's nice to have that you can actually service these and put fresh fluid in them if need be. This mower runs 8 miles per hour in forward and 4 miles per hour in reverse. It is nice to have a little bit of extra speed. It doesn't sound like much, but when you're in a long straightaway, it feels like a ton. Also, you get the larger diameter tires on your light commercial mowers, where on your residential, typically you have your smaller tires. Now these little tires were actually the same tires that were on my Z225, and they ride pretty nice because they have a nice sidewall on them. I can't really hate on that at all. These tires are proven, they work well. I actually had these tires on my Laser Z X Marks, and they're kind of rough, but the big radius does help them get over bumps. The parking brake handle, it's actually nice. It's nice and simple, that's all it should be. The deck adjustment on this mower very, very much bothers me. Yes, it's simplistic, yes, it works. It's just so cheap. Really, really cheap. You pull it over, it goes down. You pull it back up, it locks. It does feel spring assisted, that is nice. It's not very heavy on your hand. It just feels cheap from what it was. You have a locking pin for your height adjustment. You see it right there, stamped 4, 3, 2, 1 with your in-betweens. It gets the job done. It's just very, very basic. You come over here to the Kubota, and this is one of the things that I really like about Kubota. They use the exact same deck lift system on their entry level or their mid-level mowers as their commercial mowers. So you have one lever, or foot lever I guess. You push down on it, and then the deck releases. Now to put the deck up, you push on it again, and it hooks. It's a 1 foot operation deck. And your adjustment handle here for your height is very, very simple. Now it's just a ratcheting mechanism down here. Let's see. Yep. That's all it is. It's a very simple design, but it works really, really well. Now for controls, John Deere used to have cast aluminum arms right here. Now they're stamped galvanized steel. I'm sure they're fine. They do have a dampening effect in and out, which feels nice. They're obviously dampened front and back. The Kubota also has the same dampened features, but they are cast aluminum. They do feel stronger, and they have a very rewarding click in and out. Okay, obviously these are dampened as well, helps you control it, and also easier on the transmissions. If you're bouncing and jerking it back and forth, it tears the transmission. Parking brake on the Kubota is in a better location. It's right in a very easy to reach position. Okay, now we're on to the engines. We have a 22 horsepower Briggs & Stratton compared to a 21 horsepower Kohler. Now, the real difference is in the airbox design. For residential mowers, they always cheapen up one thing, and it's always the airbox design. If you notice, some of your light commercial and mid-grade commercials are even getting Donaldson air filters mounted on the side. Those are amazing. You will never ever ingest dirt with those filter systems. They will clog to the point where they stop running. Now this model does not have that. You have to go a few steps up. But I'm going to show you the differences between a residential airbox and a light commercial airbox. Okay, so I loosened these 2 screws. I'm going to take this cover off, place it right here. And what you see is just your normal, nice size filter. This is your Oem filter, and I'm very much of a problem with this filter. It really has no structure, and when you push it on, which this is just simply a compression fitting, the filter can just compress and it can loosen up. Now, obviously it has ribs in here. That's what makes the seal. But all it's actually compressing on is this little ledge right here. Now I like this filter a lot because it has structure. And it's actually, if you look at it side by side, it is actually a tighter filter. It has more material. I believe this is a better quality filter. I don't know the make of it. Let me go see. Rotary. That's the brand. Much better. But what I do with this style of filter is I always put grease. Because if you do get a small air gap, the sand will go right by and then directly into the intake of the engine. Now, that is very fine dust. Okay, very, very fine. That grease adds a layer of protection. So now if this was to vibrate loose, you have something to actually catch the dirt. This filter had 50 hours on it. Really not too dirty, typical of a lawn mower, you know. Now we go to the Kubota. You see this nice metal clamps. And of course this is a Kohler engine. We remove this, and this lid is actually compressing this filter to the housing. Now this actually does have a foam pre-filter on it, but it is a traditional paper element filter just like the other one. It is larger, just lasts a little bit longer when it gets dirty, but how this air box is designed is definitely better than the Briggs & Stratton. Now this airbox design isn't just for a light commercial mower. I believe that some of these motors will even be found on other residential mowers, just not this particular Briggs. So just keep an eye on that. It's not terrible. The 18.5 horsepower Briggs had a terrible airbox design about 10 years ago. It let dirt right by, and then they updated it to a much better slash similar air filter like this. They were better, but the decompression spring on the cam would fail around 300 hours, and then you'd have to actually jump start it because the little starter could not turn over the compression of the single cylinder 18.5. So another problem with the residential mowers is that 18.5 Briggs single cylinder. It is terrible. Run. So now that we covered the air filters, everything else is pretty normal. You have your oil filter, your fuel pumps, but your muffler is much cheaper on your residential lawn mowers. It's typically just a tin shell. It sounds tinny, and it's definitely louder. Your light commercial mowers typically have some form of a fiberglass muffler. Not only do these sound deeper and more like a Harley Davidson or something, they're quieter. They're more enjoyable to listen to if you're sitting on that seat for a long time. And with age, they hold up better. These mowers just get, or mufflers just get more loud, more rattle sounding, just don't hold up over time. This exhaust will hold up for a long time. One other feature with both of these mowers is the release for your transmission. You push this forward, slide it into that V, both sides, and then it can freewheel. And the Kubota has the same option, very typical on any hydro gear zero turn setup. Now, one obvious thing that these mowers come with is a warranty. The John Deere comes with a 2-year, 120-hour warranty, and this Kubota comes with a 4-year, 300-hour warranty. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but I can tell you one thing. I bought both of these mowers used, lightly used. I was able to transfer the Kubota's warranty into my name. No problems, no questions asked. There was I believe 2 service bulletins updates for this mower, being a 2016. And he told me to bring it in, and no questions asked. They'll do the work on it and bring it up to date. So I thought that customer service was really good. I can't speak for John Deere for that. They might be just as good, but Kubota was great with their warranty.